Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right. Yep, they want Ryan Day gone up at Ohio State, which shocks the crap out of me, but a bunch of them do. And they're sick of losing to Michigan, and there's some other reasons too.
Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Also, Billy Napier's cleaned house. He's already started anyway. 2 coaches got fired. We're going to talk about that. But let's get into this whole Ohio State thing. Good grief. They're ready to fire this dude, a bunch of people. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. And this is in Slate by Alex Kirshner. It says, Ohio State fans are calling for their very successful head coach's head. They have a point. And there's a lot of articles out there kind of like this. Now realize, again, this guy's got an 89% winning percentage, which is outstanding. But he lost the 3rd year in a row to Michigan in the biggest, I mean, it's the big game. You've got to beat Michigan if you're at Ohio State. That's just the way it is.
He ain't lying.
And they had their assistant coach in there coaching for Michigan, obviously, because Jim Harbaugh has been suspended. And they're talking about how Moore outcoached Day. And what it was, there was 2 critical 4th downs that Day didn't go for. And Michigan went for 3 of them and got all 3. And it talks about it here. Said Day opted to punt on a 4th and 1 at Ohio State's 46. And then the guy hit like a 33-year duck, whatever. That's, you can't control that. Then just before halftime, it was 4th and 2 at Michigan's 34-yard line, which surprised me. I thought he was going to go for that for sure. Instead, he kicked a 52-yard field goal. But the problem was his field goal kicker never kicked a 52-yard one. That surprised me. Normally, if you've got a kicker that's accurate, but he's not got a big leg, you go for it in a situation like that. So I think that's why a lot of people in Ohio State are kind of ticked off. And the same thing happened to Jimbo Fisher. If you'll remember, he was 4th and 1 against Alabama in Alabama territory, like on the 45 or whatever it was. And he didn't go for it. They punted, and then Alabama went down and scored a touchdown. And the Texas A&M folks didn't forget it. They were furious. And they let him have it right after that, and they didn't let it go. Here's the thing about fans. If you go for it on 4th down and short, and you're in the other team's territory, they'll forgive you. They'll say, yeah, well, at least he went for it, even if you don't get it, because the reality is all you're going to pick up is maybe 20 or 30 yards anyway. But if you make it, you continue down the path, and you're probably going to score a field goal or a touchdown. So that's how most fans look at it. They pretty much won't give you too much grief if you go for it. I know that's my mindset. I'd rather, that's the one thing I like about Heupel with Tennessee. He goes for it on 4th down. If he doesn't get it, I don't give him any grief. I'm like, good, at least we went for it. I have no problem with that because the odds are in your favor, big time. And Ohio State never tried a 4th down conversion, whereas Michigan attempted 3, and they got all 3, 2 of which got converted into touchdowns. And it talks about how the Buckeyes are in a world of pain. They really are upset. Huge portion of their fans want to be done with Day. He holds the unquestionable title of most reviled 56-7 coach in college football history. That's got to be true. Maurice Claret, in a series of now-deleted posts on X, said that when it comes to Ohio State beating Michigan every year, Ryan Day, love you, bro, but you got to go. This is why you're paid millions. No one cares about beating the BS teams we schedule. We play those teams on purpose to have a good record to get to Michigan and into the playoffs. That's part of the program. You make $9 million and lose to your rival 3 times in a row, and he's 1-3 against the Wolverines. We're going to talk about that too. And the big thing is he's great at developing quarterbacks, but his quarterback this year, Kyle McCord, has struggled, and that's really been the big difference. Last year he had C.J. Stroud. If he'd had Stroud on Saturday, they'd have won that ball game. So let's see what some of the folks on Twitter are saying about this. And here's a tweet from that comic book and movie guy. It shows Judgment Day. It says versus Michigan, he's 1-3. In playoffs, he's 1-3. All other games, he's 54-1. So that is kind of a ouch moment. Now here's one from Scarlet and Gray Esquire, and this is when you know you're in a bad place. He says, I'm not going to lie. I feel like hiring an ex-Marine who's a lunatic enough to write a 500-page Ohio State manifesto. It's exactly what the Buckeyes need right now as a program. He said, keep him on a leash, monitor his Venmo, but we need to be obsessive, slightly unhinged energy right now. Dude would dive on a grenade for any of those guys. We need that energy. So, yeah, he wants the cheater guy or the sign stealer guy. Because here's the thing about Michigan. You can never forget this.
It's got to be America's team. It's got to be America's team.
That's right, America's team. On what planet? All right, Ohio State fans, I'm going to give you an opinion that's a little bit more neutral than what you're getting because you're either hearing from Ohio State people who are upset or Michigan people that are celebrating. I cover the SEC, but I've been covering a lot of this Ohio State-Michigan rivalry, and especially the sign-stealing deal with Connor Stallions. The situation is this. Yeah, he lost the last 3, but understand 2 of those, they had their signs. And C.J. Stroud had like a terrible second half, and the guy's killing it in the NFL and probably would have won the Heisman or come close to it if not for Michigan having the signs and knowing what they were doing on offense. Probably might have cost him the Heisman. So those 2 games, that's really hard to count those. Now, I'm telling you, it's hard to count those. They went up to Columbus and beat y'all by 3 touchdowns with C.J. Stroud? No, I don't think so. So, and the other thing is this. They won by 6 points, and you got a quarterback struggling. And, you know, the interceptions obviously were a big part of this loss. That wouldn't have happened with C.J. Stroud. So they win by 21 points with a great quarterback. You've got an okay quarterback now, and you only lose by 6 at Michigan. So I think you're really getting way ahead of your skis right now. You're letting emotions get the better of you.
Our pets' heads are falling off!
Okay, just calm down.
Just calm down, let Ryan Day get things situated, let him get his quarterback situation squared away. As far as going for it on 4th down, if he did not learn his lesson from this, you can get on him because I can tell you he's going to hear about this all off season about how he didn't go for it on 4th and 1 and didn't go for it on 4th and 2 and kicked like a 53-yard field goal with a guy that had never done it. So, you know, he needs to take a lot of grief for that. He should have gone for both of those, just like Michigan did. And if you don't get it, so what? You know what? At least you went for it. You tried to win the game.
Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.
So anyway, I would just calm down on this. Like, people aren't going to. Look, it's really hard to explain what a grudge match Ohio State and Michigan is unless it's, you know, because it's rough. It reminds me a lot of Florida State, Auburn, and Alabama, which the Auburn-Alabama thing, those Auburn fans, they are distraught. I'm telling you, they are losing their minds over that loss. They had them. I mean, they had them. And they rushed 2 D linemen. 2, which is nuts. So anyway, nice call on that. I would have rushed at least 3, and then I'd have had a spy as the 4th guy. You've got to get that quarterback rushing, and you've got to get him in a hurry. If he gets to sit back there and figure out the exact spot he wants to throw it, that ups his percentage odds of completing a pass significantly. Because you can put all you want in the end zone. If he's going to pick out one little spot, it doesn't matter about the other 6 guys you got over here. You need to rush him. You need to make him make a bad pass. He might throw it out of the end zone. He might get tackled. He might do gosh knows what. But you can't let him sit back there and just do whatever he wants. That's just ridiculous. But anyway, now let's talk about one Billy Napier. Yeah, Billy has fired his 2 assistants, Sean Spencer and Corey Raymond, with expected staff shakeup ahead, so he may be firing more. And this is pretty typical when a coach is on his last year. He'll make some moves in the assistant coaches to calm down the crowd that's screaming for his head, and that helps him a little bit. You got to throw a little red meat out there. But the reality is, I don't see him making it past next year. His schedule is brutal. 2024, he's got a horrible SEC schedule. And the difference between this last year and this year is he's got to go to Tennessee and go to Texas on top of playing Miami, Florida State, and UCF. He gets one easy win, which is Sanford. The rest of them are all SEC. So I don't see him surviving that. I really don't.
I'm not seeing it here, Lloyd.
But this is a good thing to do to help you get through the 1 year so everybody kind of calms down. It says they parted ways with co-defensive coordinator Sean Spencer. Of course, they were 5-7 this year, missed a bowl game. This is their 3rd losing season in a row, I believe, one of which was under Dan Mullen. Talks about how their defense gave up 700 yards against LSU. You kind of knew when that happened somebody was going to get fired. You cannot, because that's humiliating. And then as for Raymond, he was part of Napier's initial staff. In 2022, he's promoted to defensive backs coach, earning a raise. And before that, Raymond coached at LSU for like 9 years, where he was known for recruiting and teaching an immense array of talented defensive backs. He served as defensive backs coach in 11. It says Napier's under pressure to shake up his staff after the Gators failed to reach a bowl game this season, first time since 2017. Florida started 5-2, but ended up with 5 consecutive losses to Georgia, Arkansas, LSU, Missouri, and Florida State. The Arkansas game was devastating. That just killed them because Arkansas was like 2-6 at the time. 3 of these losses weren't bad at all. Georgia, Missouri, and Florida State. You kind of saw those coming, and they gave Missouri and Florida State a run. But this is Florida, and they don't want to hear about, oh, well, you gave them a run. They expect victories. This is a program that had Urban Meyer and Steve Spurrier and all that. Now, what I think they're probably going to do, and I've been kind of predicting this for a while, is they're going to hope that Lane Kiffin's still there at Ole Miss. I thought he might go to Texas A&M, but I don't think A&M wanted to have another huge contract, which makes sense. You know, if you're going to have a huge contract, you're going to have to get somebody that's guaranteed. And Lane Kiffin's not necessarily that. Plus, he brings his own set of problems. So I could see him at Florida very easily because, look, they kind of like a punk. You know, they had the original punk, which was Steve Spurrier, and he would be Steve Spurrier 2.0, the brand new punk 2.0, Punky Brewster, if you will. So I could see Lane there. But, look, this is just, you know, you're just bailing water, and the water's coming in quicker than it's going out. So if you're Florida fans out there, look, you're going to have to put up with it for one more year, and then you'll probably get a Lane Kiffin-type coach, and you'll be fine after that. Because Lane will turn it around very quickly. He'll run to the transfer portal. That's where he likes to live anyway. He really doesn't care for the recruiting as much, even though he will do it. It's just he'd rather have instant success. And with his offense, you know, you'll start scoring points again. And I would almost look forward to it, really, because I'd love to see a Tennessee Heupel offense against a Lane Kiffin offense at Florida. That would be a brutal grudge match between those two guys. That would be offensive firepower like crazy. We saw it again 2 years ago with Tennessee against Ole Miss, and that was crazy. And, of course, we'll get to watch the fainting goats defense strategy of Lane Kiffin, where he has the guys lay down all the time. Although I will say our offensive linemen that after every extra point it seems like their knee goes out, I guess that's a little bit more time for the defense to rest. So I've been noticing that all year long. I noticed they didn't use Lampley for this last game. They used a new guy. He was a freshman. So I guess Lampley got tired of doing it, allegedly. All right, folks, just wanted to cover this. They want Day gone. They want him to win 95%. The 89's not getting it done. And going 1-3 and 1-3 against those critical teams, that's what they're upset about. And they are sick of this crap. Brutus is not happy. And Billy, you know, this will give him another year, and then he'll probably be gone. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover the SEC and all the big happenings in the NCAA and, of course, my Vols. And if you've not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Just hit that little button. I would appreciate it. And right over here is most recent video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.